So at the end of each trading session, our guys are archiving a setup that made the most sense to them. Those setups have variables, and guys go back and they decode and deconstruct the variables of that setup that they really liked, and they put them into this playbook. We call it the SMB playbook template form. And I wrote about this in the playbook, as I mentioned. But it consists of generally what is the big picture for the given day overall. And let's make sure that we understand what that is when we're talking about the setup. So in this case, in our markets, we got below a key SPY technical level yesterday, and we had been selling off and looking for a little bit of a bottom. So overall, we're in a weaker, shorter term market, pulling into looking for that support and still above the 200-day moving average. So that's an example of the big picture. And then we look at overall, what are the long-term technical outlook of a particular stock? Is it at a 52-week high and going higher? Is it at a 52-week low and going lower? Is it in the middle of a range? Where's the next technical support and resistance level? And then we'll look at what's the intraday chart setup showing us. Is it below the opening range? Is it above the opening range? Let's define that. We'll make sure that we understand the news catalyst in the particular setup. So what's the news that's getting people interested to trade this on a given day? We'll make notes of what the tape was telling us about this particular setup. We will talk about an overall trade strategy for how we attack this particular setup, and we'll talk about intuition. What were you feeling in the trade as to what direction it ought to move in? And so that is, and guys, as they get a little bit more experienced, they will add some variables to that. They might take some variables out. And a lot of futures traders have ended up using this for their trading as well. So they might take out, a particular news catalyst for that wouldn't work. Maybe they'd have to look at the big picture a little bit harder. And so, but the idea, Aaron, overall is, and you touched upon this in your first question, who are you as a trader? What is your trading business? What do you do best? And the way that you figure out how you do best is, part one, start building your playbook. Start understanding the setups that you can trade really well. Start archiving them. When you write them down, you're internalizing them in your trading brain. They're easier to make in real time. It's easier to go and review your day because you can take a look at, did you make trades inside or out of your playbook? You can tag those trades and measure how well you did because they've got names. This is a breaking news trade in match. Let me measure how I did on that. Oh, okay. I made 5 points. Good. Here was a breaking news trade I made the other day when Citron came out with a hit piece. Okay, I made 4 points. All right, good. I like this. I do well in these breaking news trades. My stats back me up. And I'll give you a really good anecdote about this from one of our guys who is going to be our next seven-figure trader. Every time he passes me, I tell him that. And I'm going to keep telling him that until he actually becomes it. But I remember his first period of success, he asked to come talk to our floor manager and myself about a bump in capital. And I knew the trade that he was going to ask to get bumped up in. And I just personally am not a huge fan of this trade. And I was just like, I didn't want to be in the meeting. I was like, is he really going to ask for money on this trade? Like, this is just such a wuss trade. Like, does he really want to build his career around this trade? And it was an inefficiency trade. Anyway. And so I got to admit, like, before the meeting, I was just, not thinking this was going to be a good idea. And trader walks in, plops his his notebook down, plops his computer down, his laptop down on our conference room, and says, "Here are the measured statistics of this trade for which I would like more capital." And his equity graph was like straight up. It's like it was straight up. It was like I kept looking at it. I'm like, and we looked at each other and we said, "Yeah, we'll give you more capital for the idea. That's a great idea." And he's gone on to trade these types of setups bigger and bigger and better and better. And he, in this trade, could probably become a 7-figure trader as it is. He's working on other things, but he playbooked the trades. He measured the trades. He's got the data. It's undeniable. It was undeniable at the time that we ought to give him more capital. And so when you're sitting there at home, trading your money or maybe trading somebody else's money, and you're thinking about how do you scale up? Well, you should be able to prove it to yourself that you make money in certain setups, and you do that first by starting with those playbook trades.